Ladies and gentlemen, it finally happened. Bill Maher just cracked. The man who spent decades carrying water for the left suddenly couldn't take it anymore. In fact, he looked at his own party, his own Hollywood bubble, and admitted what we've been saying all along. The left has gone too far. In fact, the dehumanization, the political violence, the no contact culture where you cut people off simply for disagreeing, it is all rotting from the inside. And even Bill Maher can't ignore it anymore. In fact, just as Bill Maher is breaking ranks, Disney drops a bombshell of its own. Jimmy Kimmel is back on ABC, guys. That's right. After spewing lies about Charlie Kirk's assassination, after being pulled off the air, public pressure, they're doubling down. Bob Iger reinstates him, and now the backlash is exploding. Boycotts are building, investors are panicking, and Bob Iger himself may not survive the storm that he just unleashed. So on the one side, you got Bill Maher saying the quiet part out loud, finally calling out his own side. But on the other, you got Jimmy Kimmel, Disney and Hollywood machine digging in their heels, daring America to push back. This isn't just a clash of personalities. This is a civil war inside the left itself, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Now, today, whenever you're watching the show, we're going to break down how Bill Maher's awakening collides with Disney's meltdown, why Bob Iger is now in full-blown panic mode, and how this could mark the beginning of the end for the left's cultural stranglehold. Hit the like button, subscribe. All right, I want to go ahead and start here with the cracks on the left because, folks, this is where it really all begins. Bill Maher, the same Bill Maher who spent decades mocking conservatives, defending the left, and playing the smug Hollywood insider, he just couldn't hold the line anymore. He's given up. He looked out at what his party has actually become, and he said it flat out. This no contact culture, this refusal to even acknowledge the humanity of the other side, it has gone too far. And he's right. Look at the political violence, guys. Look at the dehumanization. Look at how they're treating conservatives like enemies of the state. Does that make any sense? I mean, Maher pointed out the obvious. If a conservative figure is assassinated, Hollywood won't even give it a second thought. But if it were their own, the entire industry would stop. They would cry, mourn, demand unity. That double standard is rotting America, and Bill Maher knows it. Drop a 1 if you actually agree with Bill Maher on this one, or drop a 2 if you think that things need to stay the same. Now, what happened when he dared to say it? MSNBC's Alex Wagner initially literally scoffed. I mean, she sneered as if basic decency, condemning murder, respecting human life was just too much to stomach. That's right. That right there, guys. This is the left's mask slipping. In fact, the inability to show even an ounce of humanity, Bill Maher's audience shifted uncomfortably. But the truth had already been cut through. The cracks are spreading. But while Maher is breaking ranks, Disney and ABC, they're doing the exact opposite. In fact, they're doubling down on their propaganda machine. Breaking news this week, guys. Jimmy Kimmel is back. That's right. After being yanked off the air for peddling a disgusting lie about Charlie Kirk's assassination, after smearing the shooter as some kind of a MAGA loyalist when the facts already proved otherwise, Disney has decided to put him right back in front of America. Drop a woke in the comments down below if you think Disney is absolutely too far gone and super duper woke. Now, think about what this means. Jimmy Kimmel misled the country at one of the most fragile, heartbreaking moments in years, and instead of accountability, Disney rewards him with reinstatement. The FCC is already circling Commissioner Brandon Carr warning that these so-called late-night comedy shows, they're abusing loopholes, they're operating like partisan propaganda machines under the cover of news. And yet Disney shrugs, looks you in the eye and says, "We don't care. He's back." Yeah, this is not just arrogance. This is defiance. They're daring America to push back. And folks, people are already pushing back. I mean, people don't always admit it, but we all follow the herd sometimes. And right now, the herd is calling chapter because they've realized Medicare isn't something to gamble with. This is why I partner with Chapter, folks. When thousands are making the same move, there's usually a good reason for that. So let me ask, are you going to resist the herd, or are you going to do what most people already are, making the smart call? Now, most people, they're dialing the phone number down below at the bottom of your screen right there, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. The telephone number is 909-563 8279, and tell them that Ron says hello. And while you're on the phone with them, ask them about this $400 to $1,000 of extra benefits that you could possibly be missing out on with this Medicare Flex card. Yeah, ask them about that Medicare Flex card, because that looks like that could be something. And so that brings us to the man sitting right in the middle of the storm, Bob Iger, the so-called master of Disney's empire, back for his second stint as CEO. And folks, let me tell you, it's just not going well. The stock is down. Investors are nervous. And instead of steering Disney out of danger, Iger has walked the company right back into the culture war minefield. I mean, every step they're about to just blow up. I mean, look at the track record, okay? He can't control The View. Those ladies refuse to rein in the politics. He can't control Jimmy Kimmel. 200 producers on the show, and not one stepped in from spreading out a flat-out lie. This is the classic inmates running the asylum. And Bob Iger, he's the one who's opened the gates. So now he's facing fire from both directions. The left is furious that Jimmy Kimmel was never suspended. The right is outraged that Jimmy Kimmel's back. Bob Iger, he's left holding the bag. So when both sides are angry, when your audience doesn't trust you, and when your investors start to sweat, that's not good leadership. That is a disaster in motion. Now, here's a real kicker: boycotts. Now, we've seen this movie before, right? Bud Light, Target, Office Depot. Each of them thought that they could ride out the storm. Each thought the public would forget. And each one got hammered because these boycotts take on a life of their own. Now, Disney, they're staring down that same barrel right now. And this time, it's not just conservatives saying enough. Liberals are mad too. In fact, claiming Jimmy Kimmel should never have been suspended in the first place. Both sides loading their guns, aiming straight at, we'll just leave it right there. Anyway, that is the nightmare scenario. Corporations caught in culture wars because, when corporations are caught in these culture wars, they always lose. There's no winning this because they try to play both sides. But there is no middle ground anymore. And already the signs are here. Stocks are sliding. Activists are mobilizing online, and parents are whispering, maybe we just don't take the kids to Disney World this year. Hey, that's what some families are saying. That's what a lot of families are saying. That is why this is what panic looks like at the top. And Bob Iger, he's running out of rope. So here's where this gets really explosive. Bill Maher versus Jimmy Kimmel. The Hollywood Civil War. Two men from the same side of the aisle, both moving in completely opposite directions. Crazy. And so on the one hand, you got Bill Maher finally acknowledging the rot inside of his own movement. He sees the dehumanization. He sees the political violence. He sees the no contact obsession that's tearing families apart. And while he doesn't get it 100% right, at least he's honest enough to admit the obvious. That is why people are listening to him right now. Now, on the other hand, you got Jimmy Kimmel doubling down on lies, sneering at half the country, weaponizing a tragedy to smear conservatives, while Bill Maher is cracking the door to reality. Jimmy Kimmel, he's slamming it shut, and he tries to lock America in a room full of propaganda. Now, one is risking alienation by breaking ranks, but the other one's risking Disney's future by reinforcing the lie. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not just a clash of personalities. That is a war for the soul of Hollywood. Honesty versus dishonesty. Truth versus narrative. And for once, the cracks are visible for everyone to see. And in the middle of all of this, President Donald J. Trump, while the media spins and Hollywood plays defense, Trump cuts straight to the heart of it. He didn't mince words. Jimmy Kimmel wasn't suspended because of politics. He was suspended because he's terrible. Low ratings, no talent, nobody watching. Trump mocked him the only way that Trump can. And it landed because everybody knows it's true. Meanwhile, the media tried to twist it. Dictator Trump silences comedians. Really? The man who just walked through 2 assassination attempts? The man who's still standing after impeachment, after indictment, can't even keep one washed up late night host off TV? The narrative collapses the second you look at it. So here's the real contrast. Bill Maher cautiously stepping toward honesty. Donald Trump boldly calling out the circus for what it really is. And Jimmy Kimmel, well, he's just been reduced to a pawn in Bob Iger's desperate gamble. So now we need to dig into what might be the most revealing part of this entire mess here. This is the tragedy of Charlie Kirk's assassination and how the left responded to it. Because, folks, this was a moment that really should have united the country. A conservative leader murdered in cold blood. A family grieving, a widow, Erica Kirk standing at the funeral and making a choice that shocked the nation. Forgiveness. Now, I don't know, I'm a follower of Christ. I don't know if I could forgive something like that. Not vengeance, not rage, none of that. Just forgiveness. She looked at the man who killed her husband and said, "I forgive you." Guys, that's strength. That is faith. That is the very definition of grace under fire. But what did Hollywood do? Silence. No tribute. No condemnation. Not one voice at the Emmys. The same people who preach love and tolerance. They couldn't even stand up and say, "Hey, you know what? Murder is wrong." None of them. Not one of them. Bill Maher pointed it out himself. If this had been a liberal activist or a Hollywood darling taken out, the entire show would have been draped in black. The speeches would have been endless, and the headlines would have screamed for weeks. But because it was Charlie Kirk, the industry acted like it didn't even happen. Worse, some of them mocked it. Others excused it. Some even had the audacity to blame Charlie for his own death, claiming his words brought it on himself. That is not politics. That is dehumanization. That is the sickness that Maher admitted is destroying his own side. So when you can't even bring yourself to say that murder is wrong unless it fits your narrative, you've already lost your soul. You're soulless. And then there's Jimmy Kimmel standing on his stage days after the tragedy, looking into the camera and lying to the American people, claiming the shooter was MAGA. He took one of the darkest moments in modern political history and turned it into a weapon to smear millions of conservatives. No apology, no correction, just a lie broadcast on national television, courtesy of ABC and Disney. That brings us directly to the storm that's brewing at the FCC, because Brendan Carr, one of the only commissioners willing to stand up, has already said what millions are thinking. These late night shows are not comedy anymore. They're propaganda outlets hiding behind tracks, laugh tracks, and monologues while pushing one-sided narratives on federally regulated airwaves. They claim bona fide news program status in order to escape equal time requirements, but when was the last time Jimmy Kimmel had a conservative guest? When was the last time that The View gave a fair platform to the other side? Exactly. It never happens. It doesn't happen. And so here's the bombshell. Kimmel's reinstatement may have just pushed this issue over the edge, because if the FCC steps in, if they decide these shows no longer qualify for protections, the entire late night industry could be forced to change. Now imagine what happens if Disney, ABC, and others lose their cover. All of a sudden, they can't just mock conservatives night after night while shutting them out completely. They'd either have to adapt or collapse. This is the risk that Bob Iger didn't calculate. But by bringing Jimmy Kimmel back, he hasn't just reignited boycotts. No, it's bigger than boycotts. He may have triggered regulatory scrutiny that Disney is not prepared to handle. Now, I want to step back and just kind of look at the bigger picture here, because this moment, it's not just about Bill Maher cracking or Jimmy Kimmel crawling back into late night TV or Bob Iger panicking in the boardroom. It's really about a cultural realignment that's been brewing for years and is now boiling over. The left built its house on no contact. They've cut off your family if they voted. They've cut off your family if they voted for Trump. Block old friends who don't parrot the narrative, mock conservatives, smear Christians, demonize half the country as fascists or domestic terrorists. That is the culture that they've created, a culture of erasure, exclusion, and hate. And now it's starting to collapse. Because when even Bill Maher, a man who made a career out of mocking conservatives, admits that his own side has become unhinged, it's not just a crack in the wall, it is a warning shot. This is proof that the rot is so freaking obvious that even their own can't ignore it anymore. Now, if you contrast that with Erica Kirk, a grieving widow, standing at her husband's funeral and choosing forgiveness in the face of hatred, that moment right there, that should have united the country. That moment should have been honored across all political lines. But instead, the left scoffed. Hollywood stayed quiet. The Emmys refused to even acknowledge a political assassination. The contrast there, hate versus forgiveness, erasure versus humanity. This is why the cultural divide is no longer sustainable. Disney's decision to bring Kimmel back is the perfect symbol of the entire mindset. They don't reform. They don't reflect. They don't take responsibility. They double down. They shove their propaganda in America's face and they dare you to complain about it. They think that they're untouchable. But the boycotts, the stock drops, the loss of public trust, That's the beginning of judgment. And that brings us to the heart of all of this. Is Disney going to even be able to survive this? Or will Bob Iger's desperate bet on Jimmy Kimmel be remembered as the corporate suicide note of 2025? Will Bill Maher pay the price in Hollywood for daring to tell the truth? Or will his crack in the narrative unleash others who are quietly waiting to break ranks? Well, here's the most important question of all, really. If elites can't even admit murder is wrong, if they can't condemn political violence without sneering, if they can't respect half the country's basic humanity, what moral authority do they have left to lead this nation? The answer is none. They've lost it. The left's claim to the moral high ground is finished. And that collapse is why people are rallying to President Trump in 2025, because love him or hate him, guys, he speaks the truth in a world of lies. He is very candid, very little filter. He fights when elites expect surrender. He refuses to play by the no contact rule that says conservatives are supposed to sit quiet and take the abuse. So here's my message to you. This isn't just about Jimmy Kimmel. This isn't just about Bill Maher. This is about the future of truth in America. Are we going to let elites like Bob Iger and the Disney machine rewrite reality? Or are we going to stand together, call out the lies, and hold them accountable? Because what just happened proves one thing. The wall is cracking, and once the cracks start, the collapse is only a matter of time. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.